Hello, Neil Murphy, Dynamic Man podcast, coming to you live from freshly snowing Pila in the Italian Alps, in the Valley de Aosta. And it's snowing. Lightly, but it's a white out, and there's plenty of snow. So happy days. The reason I'm in Pila is because I do something every year which I call the 40 days on. Now it's an unusual challenge, that's for sure. It's 40 straight days of snowboarding. More if I can. But the minimum is 40. So that's getting up, getting out on the mountain every day for 40 days. It's challenging. It's really challenging. The body sometimes says, take a break, man. But, sometimes the mountain says, you can't take a break. I've got snow. I've got fresh snow. I've got deep, fresh, fluffy, powdery snow. And that's hard to resist. But it's also a commitment, a real commitment. Especially for someone like me who a few years ago would have been so anti-cold, allergic to the cold, really, because the cold wasn't good to me. I grew up in Ireland where we definitely didn't have much heating. Oil was expensive, the heating system was on in the mornings, on in the evenings, but the house, it was always cold, freezing. And the worst thing that anyone could say to us back then was, go out there and get some more coal for the fire, because you'd have to leave the one hot room in the house and go out into the darkness, the cold, to get some more fuel for the fire. So no, getting in and out of cold, damp beds, it wasn't for me. And many times I was offered by friends who were going to Aspen and places like that to come out and visit, to come out and stay. One year I actually did cut short a tour in Mexico to arrive in Denver and go visit my friends in Boulder. That was a drop of 60 degrees Celsius, maybe 100 degrees Fahrenheit in one day. Shocking. From shorts to absolutely frigid Baltic conditions. It wasn't for me. And I suffered from cold-triggered asthma, which meant if I sensed a bit of cold, I could be sneezing for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Now that is not something you want to go through. You do have some dark thoughts, like when you're sneezing that long, that consistently, because of the cold and living in cold environments. So the last thing I ever wanted was to be up in a mountain freezing cold. But here I am doing 40 days on, 40 days of snowboarding, day in, day out, getting out there, walking barefoot in the snow. Sometimes I even make the mistake of walking barefoot in the snow just before bed. And man, it's so electrifying, so invigorating, you can't sleep. It's definitely better to do it in the mornings. But this is what I'm saying. This is like cold triggered asthma, sinus attacks, an allergic reaction to the cold. My body used to have an allergic reaction to the cold. And now since I resolved all that, got rid of my asthma, got rid of those crippling sinus attacks, sneezing, storms, dark thoughts, negative thoughts, debilitating, so debilitating. I would never have thought 10 years ago, 20 years ago that I would be so happy to spend a minimum of 40 days on a mountain in winter and feel energized, feel vitalized, feel invigorated, drawing all this energy from the cold. No, man. I would have been happier on beaches in Thailand, Mexico, Portugal, South Africa, warm places, Barbados, Hawaii. This is what I wanted. Malaysia, Vietnam, you know, warm winters. I would never have said when I left Ireland all those years ago that I would be finding myself talking about doing 40 days straight on a mountain in the middle of winter every day. Not just that, the gondola is a 20-minute walk at 2,500 feet. So by the end of 40 days, I'd have tacked on maybe 130, 140 kilometers of hiking at 2,500 feet, 800 meters. So the exertion is incredible. You do feel it, I do feel it, but you know, the strength, the power, every day you're just adding, creating more energy, and that's the key. So there's nothing you cannot do. If I can do this every day for 40 days, up in a mountain, there's no limits. There's no limits to what you can do. You know, overcoming, like sneezing for a quarter or more, half a day. I mean, it's the thoughts you have are, you know, they're not conducive to living well. They're crippling thoughts. But the idea that there's so much energy, so much invigoration on a mountain in the cold. What is it now? It's probably about minus 10 Celsius. Whatever that is in, say 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It's cold. The heating in the house, the chalet here, isn't working this morning. Had to get the fire going, so the house is a bit cold. And it's not a problem. There's no panic. There's no sinus attack. There's no asthma attack. There's nothing. There's only the thought of getting my boots on, hiking up to that gondola and getting on the mountain. Day 26. 14 to go. And I'm going to do it. That's for sure. One way or the other. Because I can. And I'm here to tell you that whatever you think you can't do, you're wrong. You can. You can do anything. I'm the perfect example of like overcoming a crippling, what would you call asthma? Sinuses? Would you call it an affliction? Is it a form of lung disease, sinus disease, whatever you want to call it? There's no sneezing here. The air is nice and dry. It's cold, but the humidity is low. And in fairness, I will say this about 40 days on, every day is fun. Every day is fun. Doesn't feel like exercise. It is exercise. Coming down a mountain at sometimes 30, 40, 50, maybe 60 miles an hour. You do pick up speed, but the satisfaction at the end of the day is incredible. There's nothing you can't do when you overcome the biggest obstacle in your life. And for me, that the cold has always been an obstacle. It's always been a challenge. Has always been a nemesis. I remember going to school in Ireland, like waking up in the mornings to a freezing house, and you didn't want to get out of bed. Putting on cold clothes. Yeah? So, what is it? What is it that you think you can't do? What is it you think you can't overcome? What is something that you never once thought you would be able to do? What is that for you? And knowing that if you did overcome that, how would that have an impact on your life? I know overcoming the cold for me has been a liberating sensation. Now I embrace the cold as a very formidable source of energy. There's no place, I don't see too many places where there are as many happy people congregated in one spot. Ski resorts. People, and I talked to a guy the other day, says he hasn't snowboarded for 2 years, and he says, I'm finally back in my happy place. These are happy places. And looking out the window now, and everything is covered in white, including the sky. This cloud cover is pretty low. There's no visibility. Everything is bright. Everything is white, even at night time. Looking across the valley at Switzerland, the Swiss Alps, looking up the valley, France is only just up the road. Down the valley, Turin. And here, everything is so bright, it's very hard to feel down. It's impossible. It really is a challenge to feel low when you're up so high. And that's why I always say, stay high. Because it's an incredible state of being. To be able to find dopamine hits just by looking out your window. You don't have to do anything. You can hike the 20 minutes up to the gondola, sit on that, levitating, going up the side of an Alp, the views, the snow, just the sensation of floating through the air in a bubble. I mean, if that doesn't excite you, levitation, first thing in the day, first thing in the morning, getting on a chairlift on your own, that is that is the number one feeling. That's the best feeling I have when I manage the first chair all alone. Going up a mountain, floating on a chair, levitating. It's magic. Absolute magic. And to think I could have denied myself that because of my instinctive fear of cold, my phobia of cold, my resistance to being cold. All of that I would have missed. And even doing this 40-day challenge, I'm fit for the year after it. My lungs, my legs, my psychological hygiene. I could have denied myself all of that if I just listened to myself. But in a moment of weakness or a moment of strength, I listened to a friend and he lured me to his beautiful apartment in a town called Aspen 21 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. That was the first year I did this 40-day challenge. And I'm glad that the season ended, because I would have gone longer. Maybe I could have achieved a 50 or a 60 day challenge, but 40 days is formidable. It really is. But if I can do it after overcoming all the obstacles I had to being cold, having been cold for way too long. And I will tell you this, I spent a couple of weeks in Ireland before I came to Italy, and even though I'm at 2,500 feet here, 600 meters, 800 meters, it was colder in Ireland at sea level. That's right. I didn't know it back then, but Ireland is colder because of that damp, that constant humidity, maximum humidity. It's impossible to get warm. Impossible. So I'm actually warmer in the Alps with no heating than I would be back in Ireland with the heating on. How would I have known that if I hadn't overcome my resistance to the cold? And what I'm saying is, whatever you think you can't do, you're wrong. You can do it. It's just a matter of when. Now, if this resonates with you, I'm going to be offering a mastermind house so that you can come and join me for a week of the 40-day challenge. So if you want to get on it, like and subscribe, and let's continue to build a powerful community of men in our 40s and 50s. So we come together, energize, revitalize, invigorate each other, and encourage each other to chase our dreams, chase the dreams we never even knew we had. For me, the mountains and snowboarding, and live lives beyond what we could ever imagine, just by the power of saying yes to adventure. Because no risk, no adventure. So 40 days on, if I can do it, you can do it. So let's get on it. Book an energizer call. Let's have a chat, and I'll fill you in on exactly the changes, the difference, and everything that has happened because I embraced the cold. Stay high.